Well, good evening, everybody. Just want to get you caught up on what's going on. We have weather impact alerts here going into this weekend. So we're basically in that mode right now, even though it's going to be quiet until about this time tomorrow night. So about until 8 or 9 o'clock, I think Friday evening. We probably don't even see rain around the St. Louis area. Had a gorgeous afternoon after the morning showers lifted through. Tomorrow we'll start with some sunshine. It's during the evening and overnight hours when our chances for thunderstorms really ramp up going into tomorrow. And you're going to have waves of rain and storms pressing in here as we head through Easter weekend. Now, it's not continually raining, as you'll see from some of the model guidance in a few minutes through the entire weekend. But yes, we will have some of that rain to deal with, and some of it's going to be heavy at times. So definitely impacts here. There is a potential we could have some stronger thunderstorms on Friday and again later on Sunday. But I think overall the biggest problem for us is going to be this. Rainfall, 2 to 4 inches, looks fairly likely in most spots. Maybe you're a little lower than that off to the southeast of St. Louis, but I think most of us are going to be looking at 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. Locally, some higher amounts in a few places as well as we push our way through this Easter weekend. And that, of course, will lend itself to some problems. So here you go with what's going on. We're talking about the Friday evening storm chance and the late Sunday storm chance. And then in between, it's waves of rain and thunderstorms that we deal with. So any severe weather threat, the strongest storms look like it could happen Friday evening if they are able to get to severe levels. Right now, it looks like the main threat might be some hail, but we're not positive that we're even going to be able to fire off storms until after midnight. And at that point, the severe threat's dropping off, and so it's not as big of a deal. And most of us are inside already anyway. Now, Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening, that potentially is a bigger problem with severe weather. Right now, we're thinking it's a limited threat, but if we get warmer on Sunday, as you'll see in a few minutes, that could cause some problems. Depends on how long our break is between the morning showers and thunderstorms and what comes through later in the day. But we do know from very late Friday night, early Saturday morning through Saturday into Saturday night and early Sunday morning, the waves of rain that we see will come at us with downpours. And so some of that rain is going to be heavy at times. There is a flood watch that covers virtually all of our area starting Friday night running through Sunday evening. Creeks and streams are definitely going to be rising. Will there be flash flooding? Only if we see heavy rainfall repeatedly over the same areas. So we'll kind of prime the pump Friday night into Saturday morning, and then we'll see if we have thunderstorms going over the same areas as we push through the day on Saturday into Saturday night. What are you going to do? Well, we're all keeping our devices charged this weekend. I know this is Easter weekend. A lot of people going a lot of different places, pulled in a lot of different directions. Just make sure you have your phone charged. There may be some flash flooding. There might be a severe thunderstorm. at the very least, you'll want to check it so you can look at the 5 on your side app and see where the rain is and kind of know what's going on. The timing, that may shift a little bit. We may be a couple of hours off in our waves of showers and storms as they swing through the region. I mean, weather-wise, I think we're doing pretty well, but in the scheme of things, a couple of hours isn't a whole lot to be off. You will need the rain gear. There's no question about that this weekend. Absolutely. If you're traveling and it's pouring, you're going to need extra time to travel. And you'll probably have to slow down some too. Not only because traffic slows down, not everybody slows down when it gets wet, but you've seen the signs, and some of you have hit the wall. All right, outdoor recreational adjustments. That's probably the biggest thing. There's a lot of Easter egg hunts planned across the area on Saturday and into Sunday. And so the potential's there that we're going to be having rain, maybe when yours is scheduled. Maybe there will be dry time to kind of sneak out and squeeze that in. It'll still be wet, but maybe some dry time. So we're definitely dry overnight tonight. The warm air moved in this afternoon. We hit 80 degrees in St. Louis for the high. You look up to our north, there are the thunderstorms tonight. Southern portions of Minnesota back into Iowa. Those puppies here coming out of Omaha and pushing south of Des Moines, they are hail makers tonight. They are producing some whopping big hail up that way. All of that's staying to our north tonight. Probably doesn't even cross over the Missouri border, just mainly moves off towards the east. Maybe it slides into northern portions of Illinois, but it's not our problem. What's out to the west becomes our problem here, and it's an unsettled pattern. Energy continues to drop into the Four Corners, snow breaking out across Wyoming. You have moisture all the way down into New Mexico, southern portions of Nevada, and then you look offshore in California, and you have that spin in the atmosphere there. So there's more energy there. We're going to track that energy off the coast of California, combine it essentially with what's moving in and across the Intermountain region. And then that's what pulls out here as we head into Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon is when the main bundle of energy is sliding through. So that should have a storm system with it to our north and west. And the way this is looking is that's plenty of energy. We'll see how warm we get Sunday afternoon. But ahead of that, we're feeding that southwest flow aloft, and we're feeding moisture in here, and we're going to see just waves of showers and thunderstorms. Now, it's not tomorrow morning. This is your early morning storm energy and winds aloft. So the winds aloft, I only have the arrows moving if it's 50 miles or higher. It's about halfway up through the atmosphere. The shading that you see here is for the storm energy, or the fuel, the juice, if you will. It's going to fuel those thunderstorms. What's available, not that they'll be using it. If this is 1 o'clock Friday afternoon, you see we're heating up tomorrow. We go back into the 80s, the humidity's coming up. Yes, there's some jet stream winds there. You would think, okay, I'm seeing some things here that point me to severe weather. Well, the problem is between halfway up in the atmosphere and the ground, there's this batch of warm air. And so as the air rises and tries to lift, it hits that warm air, and the warm air smacks it back to the ground, essentially. Doesn't let it really get going. So we don't think we're going to have much in the way of anything going on here tomorrow afternoon. Now, if something were to break through that cap, then you would have some strong to severe thunderstorms very quickly with gusty winds and hail. Don't think that's going to happen, though. And we stay capped right into the early evening. And by the time we really start to see that cap breaking down, we've also lost much of our instability. Now, we still have decent winds aloft, so we're going to see some heavier thunderstorms, and they'll produce some heavier rain. But as far as the severe weather potential, right now, really looks quite limited. So here we are. I mean, there's no weather overnight tonight. You know, there's weather, but it's not impactful, right? Skies are mostly clear to partly cloudy. It is a mild night. We were 80 this afternoon. We're only dropping in the low and mid-60s for lows by early tomorrow morning. So it's a warm start. And odds are we're partly cloudy. We get some sunshine tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, the clouds are thickening. You see a couple of blips here on what is our simulated radar. That's trying to kick off a couple of showers. But again, that layer of warm air kind of says, nope, we're not playing. But after midnight, the chances really do start ramping up because we've actually brought in some cooler air aloft, got rid of that warm layer that's there, and now the atmosphere starts doing its business and creating showers and thunderstorms. You'll see wave after wave Showers and thunderstorms. Don't think there's a big severe weather threat for us on Saturday. Not saying it's zero. There might be a couple of storms down to the south of us that fire off some gusty winds or maybe a bit of hail in there. But really, it's the heavy rain that kind of keeps coming in waves across the region, generally following either side of Highway 44 in Missouri and Highway 70 in Illinois. Into early Sunday morning, another big batch sliding through around daybreak. In a way, that's good because that's early morning. Now, if you have sunrise services, not so good on Easter Sunday because it will be wet and most likely some pretty good rumbles of thunder in there too. All right, here's the setup. Our actual storm system will be well to the west and southwest of us on Easter morning. That front that comes in for Friday night meanders down here to our south. It basically is stalling out. And so it'll just kind of waver just south and southwest of St. Louis all day Saturday into Saturday night. And it's still just to our south early on Sunday morning. So as we go through the day, remember that energy that's coming in from the Pacific? As that energy kind of pulls out here into the plains, it's going to drive this storm system up into northwest Missouri, or at least west central Missouri. That'll force this front to lift to the north. So we think we're in a break here towards the midday hours and into early afternoon on Sunday, and maybe into the early evening hours. Okay, this could be good or bad. So that front's still out to our west. The question is, what are we going to see? How unstable are we going to be? Will we have enough of that storm fuel to drive severe weather here? Because we know it's a strong storm system. We know there's going to be some good winds. So here's the thing about Easter Sunday. There's going to be some dry time after the morning round of showers and thunderstorms. If we see sunshine and it gets much warmer than the low to maybe mid-70s, then the chances, and if this thing speeds up a little bit, that front actually gets in here by 4 or 5 o'clock, the chances of severe weather on Sunday will go up. And those chances would also include the potential for tornadoes if we have the instability. So this is just one of the models. Here's your storm energy. The winds aloft. Again, we have the strong enough winds aloft, not a problem. But your storm energy, yes, it builds back in. We've shaded some of those colors. There's some orange in there through the afternoon hours. It's not like what we were looking at for Friday, for tomorrow, where we were looking at those darker reds. It's not as much. But in this particular case, with that storm system coming in late in the day and the front nudging in from the west, that may be enough to offset the lack of instability by some degree. Now again, that fades as we head through the nighttime hours. So timing on Sunday is going to really amount to a lot in terms of what this threat really looks like. Right now we think it's a low-end threat and that it's mainly a few gusty winds south of St. Louis and a few storms with hail. And it's important to note that both Friday and Sunday, this is your Storm Prediction Center's outlook for Sunday severe weather risk, that stretches basically up towards Troy, back through Wentzville, into St. Louis, just across the river here, about to Granite City, and then over towards Breeze, but maybe not right into Breeze, Nashville, Illinois, and then going south, and then back to the west. So that's what we have as the general outlook. How bad it is, or if it's going to amount to much, largely depends on how much sunshine we see on Sunday. But both tomorrow and both Sunday, even though we are outlooked for severe weather by the Storm Prediction Center, there are limitations to what we expect to see. And we've had some very impactful severe weather this spring. This weekend, at this point, it's more of a rain scenario and not nearly as bad as the last round of flooding rain that we had, right? So with that in mind, yes, there is a severe threat. 2 opportunities here, Friday evening and again Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening. But it's more of the low-end severe threat. 50 to 60 mile per hour winds maybe, and maybe some hail up to about an inch, quarter size. So kind of your base severe thunderstorm warnings, nothing extreme there. And right now, the tornado risk looks negligible, okay? You can't say zero because sometimes thunderstorms can and do produce tornadoes, but they wouldn't be anything bad for Friday, especially bad, nothing big. And then Sunday, we'd have to get a lot of fuel in the afternoon, get that storm energy up. The thing we are most confident about is the waves of rain that are coming across the region. And yes, it's not pouring continuously. We're not building an ark, but you are talking about 2 to 4 inches of rain spread out over a couple of days. Now, if you get 2 inches of that in an hour, then odds are you'll have some flooding problems. So make sure your sump pumps are working. Make sure the gutters are clean, especially with those silver maples and their helicopters putting them out now and clogging up the gutters. That rain will be heavy at times through Sunday morning, then there's a break, right? And then we'll deal with a line of thunderstorms later on Sunday evening. The creeks are going to rise. Flood watch is up virtually for the entire area. It doesn't include Perry County or Jefferson County or Clay County in Illinois, but everybody else has the flood watch. So the rain chance on Friday itself is, really slim, maybe 20% during the day. At night, it jumps up into that same ballpark that we're looking at over the weekend, 80, 90, 100%. And while it's an 80% chance of rain on Sunday, there's morning showers and thunderstorms. There is a definitive break, it looks like, midday. How long that break lasts remains to be seen. And then we get more thunderstorms. But because we have that break and we're thinking that storm system's tracking to our west, that does put us more into the warmer side of the system. So we push temperatures back into the 70s. I got to tell you here, we've got a high of 65 on Saturday. Some of you, when that rain is coming down and it's murky, and then even between the waves of rain, maybe there's some drizzle, it'll be around 60 for much of the day. 58, 60 degrees for a good chunk of the day. So you're going to be saying, this is not 65. You're right. But that will be the high for the day. It just won't be there for very long. All right, so tonight, the only thing going on, we're watching those storms way to our north tonight. They'll stay to our north. That's not our problem. We're still in the 70s in St. Louis. Look at Wichita today. Made it up to 90 degrees. So the warm air's out there. That warm air creeping back our way for tomorrow. We're thinking 85 to 88 degrees across the region for the high temperatures tomorrow. So for the next few hours, mostly clear, partly cloudy, mild. We're staying in the 60s. Hour by hour for tomorrow, we'll start with some sunshine in the morning. It is a windy day. Winds will be gusty out of the south. Could even see some gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. I think we're being conservative there. But the clouds will tend to increase. So after lunchtime, you get more cloud cover and probably not much in the way of sunshine. But still, for the end of the afternoon, early evening, only about a 20% chance that we try to pop a shower or a thunderstorm. That goes up as we go into tomorrow night. And again, depending on the timing of it, and as long as that cap doesn't break tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, we may get through tomorrow without a severe threat. It's contingent upon that cap breaking. And I just realized my colors on this, I did not change my colors. So you got to shift everything over, all that red over, and that also means you got to shift Easter over. I got a lot of other things I changed tonight, but I didn't get that part changed. All the numbers, though, are correct, just the shadings off there. But our weather impact alert Friday night, Saturday, and into Sunday. By Monday, we will be draining water, right? On Monday, we are draining water. Well, I don't want you to look at that anymore. Let me talk about something else, because that shading's off. The tree pollen. This was very high today, mulberry especially. With the breeze around today, the fact that it was 80 today, the fact that it's going to be in the 80s tomorrow, tree pollen is going to be off the charts. So if you are an allergy sufferer and you have those spring tree allergies, tomorrow until we see some rain, you're going to be in that very high category. And that too is another problem. All right, we will let you go for tonight. I'm anticipating at this point we will see you. Gary will have, I'm sure, a live update for you tomorrow, sometime during the day on what's going on. And I'll see you tomorrow night, probably at 6:30, as we start in with our coverage. Y'all have a great night.